Have you seen what Brad Stevens has done in the playoffs so far shorthanded? Is he the best coach in all sports right now? Who's the best coach of all time? This week on Brooklyn Verse.
Go Bridgeside!
Hello, we're back for another Brooklyn Verse. Let me introduce you to the crew. I'm DB. Right here I got Win Allen Columbano, Dr. Sports Science Philly Cags.
What was that?
Are you all right?
Yes, I'm fine.
All right. Just
Tonight we're going to do Brooklyn
Venture
Verse, the best coaches in sports. The reason why? Brad Stevens. He's been unbelievable. Sort of come from nowhere story. Win, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah.
What do you think about the job that Brad Stevens has been doing lately?
Well, he didn't really come from nowhere, right?
Sort of. I mean, as far as coaches go.
Butler, I mean, he did take him to 2 national championships.
It's a mid-major, though.
It's a mid. I understand that. To go from a mid-major to the NBA, I guess, is a big jump. It's not like Duke to the NBA. But
Yeah, you know, it's nowhere near Duke to the NBA.
all right, I'm agreeing with you. Can I finish?
Please,
No.
go ahead.
I disagree with him right away.
By the way,
And then I came
am I
back
all
to it.
right now?
I don't know.
Go
you
on.
Tell me. Get those crazy look in your
Go
eyes. No, Stevens has been, unbelievable.
Yeah.
To do what the Celtics have been doing without Irving, without Hayward, I mean, it's you would never have thought this would happen.
Agreed, yeah.
You know, that combined with, I know, Phil, you mentioned in pre-production about just his X's and O's. You know, I mean, I'll let you
They are
touch on
great.
that.
But all the players, Terry Rozier, he's coming
Yeah.
out. Guy looks great.
Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
They didn't have Marcus Smart for a little while
Yeah,
in the
he was
season,
gone, too.
too. That's just, I don't know if you guys watched the end of the game, game 3 of Philly and Boston. And they ran a play for Horford where they called timeouts. They ran X. Horford says he looks at the play sometimes he doesn't even understand them.
That's not
and
good.
then they run it, It's just all this movement to get the perfect switch, to clear out everything. And then after all the movement, all you got to do is throw a lob to Horford. He has nobody behind him. He lays it in, game over.
I was just going to say.
The Sixers are overmatched in the coaching.
Yeah, he's making Horford look like an Iron Man
Yeah.
for out of a decent player. Well, I mean, look, so Stevens is having an unbelievable
I think he's
run.
a great coach. He really is
No,
one of the
and
best
by the
coaches
way,
right now. Yeah.
the reason why I was going to bring that up, though, is that I've never in my life seen a coach as young and as unaccomplished as him. And I get it, he's got the national championship
Yeah,
appearances,
but-
but young and unaccomplished as him that's been lauded so
And
much
so-
everywhere,
yeah.
so respected.
Here's the thing.
so
though.
on point. That's
Yeah.
why.
If you know in my theory in terms of coaching, if you know your X's and O's,
Right.
and especially in something like basketball and football, maybe not as much as baseball because baseball has a lot of personality
strategy,
management,
actually,
right?
yeah.
But if you know your X's and O's in terms of baseball and football, I mean basketball and football, then you can actually, there should be no problem transitioning into a bigger game. Yes, it might be a
yes and no,
faster
yeah.
game
Right.
and stuff like that, so there might be an adjustment there. But the strategy should still work if you know what you're talking about.
True.
That's at least my theory.
And you know
behind
film who you're playing against.
Correct.
Which is, of course, a big part of it.
And when you can't talk X's and O's without talking Popovich,
Sure.
right? In terms of, you want to
he's
talk
the best coach.
coaches of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's going to say Phil Jackson, but
I'll take
I mean,
Popovich any day of the week over Phil Jackson. To be honest with
I
you.
agree.
I'd have to at
I
this
mean,
point, yeah. And he plays with different combos of greatness at different times.
Of course.
No, but I'm saying the numbers are always different. Whether he's going with a Robinson and Duncan, like young Duncan combination, or
Or
then
a
he goes
Parker,
to Parker
And then
Ginobili.
it just,
Yeah.
then Duncan left, and it just nothing stopped.
He'll throw in Patty Mills.
I'm not saying he's as
transition
good,
to Kawhi
but
Leonard.
nothing really said.
Yeah.
The guys he makes amazing. Like you just
Yeah.
said, Patty Mills. Like,
Boris Diaw.
no one's ever going to hear of Patty Mills if it wasn't for
Danny Green.
Do you-
Like these guys, yeah.
Do you know
You've never
this-
heard of otherwise.
You're right.
Do you know this is the first year Popovich, since he took over as coach, barring strike-shortened seasons, that he did not win 50 games?
Yeah.
This is the first year he took over in 1996 or 97.
It's actually
Look,
pretty silly.
That's it.
I got to completely agree with you. Like, he makes players. What's Thiago Splitter doing right now?
Exactly.
Like, I can't, these
He
guys
was-
that just go everywhere.
Matt Bonner.
Matt Bonner, Rasho Nastarovich. Or, these guys were on the Spurs and doing okay when they should have been nowhere near basketball courts.
No, I gotcha. Yeah.
I mean, in terms of football, I know we're going to talk X's and O's. I think, is
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
anybody besides Belichick? Like, is it just him and everybody else at this point?
Well, I mean, at that level, yes. I mean, you
I-
could throw in his mentor Parcells.
That's what I was going to throw in
because
because they're very similar.
he probably picked up some good game
Yes.
from him.
Absolutely.
It's,
but there's also people, old times going to say maybe Bill Walsh. Lombardi,
yeah.
different offensive systems,
Well, yeah, he
changing
developed
the
a
game.
style of play.
That's true.
Right?
You have to have Walsh in there because Walsh was Walsh might be what Belichick was just in that time and on the offensive end.
Right.
I know
just kind of
Belichick's
the inverse of
the thing great about Belichick, his teams have been offensively and defensively great, even though he's a defensive guy.
Right.
He's definitely a defensive guy.
Sure.
But Walsh really just did it on the offense, just completely changed the way he played football offensively.
The thing with Belichick's coaching tree is insane.
Yeah.
There are so many guys
that started
came
with
from
Parcells,
it. Right, but if you also look at Walsh had Holmgren, he had
And then
Gruden,
Holmgren has
he had
Andy
Mariucci,
Reid.
Andy
Sure.
Reid, and they all trickle down. So I mean, does it take good coaches to make good coaches? I mean,
What about Vince Lombardi?
what about him?
You don't see he's one of the
Yeah, I
greatest.
know, of course. I mean, but I feel like the game was so different back then. You know, in terms of how football's played in the '60s to what it is today. Now we all know it's a pass and shoot kind of game.
Sure.
I think that's the thing with the great coaches they're talking about. We mentioned Belichick and Popovich is one thing. How adaptable they are.
To the times.
Game, honestly, in the time that they've coached their sport, the game has changed immensely both times. Belichick, it was, with all the passing rules, so you could start passing more when it was more defensively. And in basketball, with the ways and rules, with the hand checking, and then became a very, open game with a lot of passing. And all of them had just morphed their coaching style.
Yeah, a lot more plays
instead
on
of
the
being
wings,
stubborn and just trying to fit into exactly this is what I do best.
Which is hard to do, especially when you're a
do something
good
so great.
coach. You're like, no, this is my way. Instead, it takes a lot of actually look at yourself and actually see. You know what? Let me see if I can actually improve.
Exactly.
And not many guys would do that.
Exactly.
Not many guys would do that.
Agreed. So you actually brought up a great point before. So now, baseball, right?
Yeah.
It's much more strategy oriented, and by that I mean player personnel and where they fit at a given point in time. That's really what it is. So
it's strategy, not in a sense that it's strategy like X's and O's.
that's what I'm saying. It's a different type of strategy.
Yeah, it's more like
it's matchups,
hitting,
really.
hit
it's
and run,
matchups,
bunting, and dealing with people's personalities.
Yeah,
in baseball, you're with guys for 8 months.
Right.
You need to know when guys are tired. You need to know when guys need a day off. You need to know, all right. And then you look in the terms of the strategy end of it is who hits well against that pitcher, who hits well. It's a lot of pre-game kind of work.
Okay, well, I consider you two guys my subject matter experts on baseball. Okay. So we're going to ask you guys each who the best to do it was. So, Win, I'll start with you.
The best manager of all time?
Yes.
I mean, do you go back to Casey Stengel and in the early Yankee days? I mean, you have to put him in there. Then you go to the current Yankee age. Do you go Torrey? People say Terry Francona is a great manager.
Certainly is. He's a good manager.
He's actually more of a player personality guy.
I think he's a good manager.
He is, and some people might say, "Oh, Joe Madden, like the new different type of different type of manager."
Joe Madden almost blew that World Series. By the way, nobody talks because they didn't. He almost blew that World Series.
They were down a great deal.
He made some weird moves in Game 7, and he took out Lester. Remember, he put in Lester in Game 7. He was pitching good. Then he took him out and to put in Chapman for the 3 innings when Lester was dealing.
Well, let's remember the Cubs also made a couple of mistakes in that game.
I know.
Shouldn't have been as close as it was.
I think Francona's very good too.
You
what
can't
he did with
forget
Miller too is great.
You can't forget La Russa.
That's what I was going to say right now. I think La Russa really going from. Also, it's tough to go from 2 different teams and bring them up the way he did. Oakland kind of made them a powerhouse. Then went to St. Louis and look at I don't want to say foundation, but what the system he's established. The Cardinals are always good now. And he started that with them. He came to St. Louis, and they became great. They were always in it. They won 2 rings with him.
Maybe he'll even make Matheny
and then Matheny,
water, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So I think La Russa was very good.
You had a guy before you mentioned.
Well, I will, but I do want to ask both of you guys, though. Well, we're in the aughts, I guess you'd call it, whatever it is now.
Teens.
The teens, sure.
The what?
We don't know what the hell. We were in the aughts.
Yeah,
what are you 2000, 2009 is the aughts.
I was going to the end of the aughts into the teens.
Got it.
Guys, what the hell are you talking about?
What's the time period that we're in?
The time period, the 2000s or the aughts?
Yeah.
This is the teens. Next will be
aughts.
the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s.
Well,
yes.
I'm going aughts
yes.
into the teens.
Yes.
What do you
I thought it was like the O's.
What do you think of what Bruce Bochy's done?
I was just going to say him. He's a guy
old school.
Old school. You remember him in San Diego in '98 when they played the Yankees. That team definitely overachieved. Now all this time with the Giants, I mean, he's got 3 rings. Yeah. And guys have changed. You had Lincecum. Lincecum's gone.
Pitching always paramount. Different pitchers, though.
Different pitchers. Now he has had Bumgarner.
Yeah.
He's a guy who definitely could be in the conversation, but he's a guy that I feel like gets overlooked because
That's
I
why I
feel like there's an
mentioned
East
him,
Coast bias in a lot of ways, in a
Bobby
lot of
Cox.
different things.
Well, the reason why I was going to bring up my guy, and that's Jim Leland, and that's because he's actually fit into several different situations and been successful.
Sure.
Yeah.
Pirates, Marlins, Tigers, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's had pretty good success in all those
All of them,
places.
Sure, he got the
You
one
know?
World Series, but I mean, he's
Each of them did very well. A lot of
absolutely,
success.
and I'm pretty sure he was purely a strategy guy because he didn't.
No, he was an old school guy.
That's what I'm saying.
You know,
yeah,
no foreign like.
He didn't strike me as somebody that would have really bonded with younger players. It's funny because you get different stories about that behind the scenes, which is that he was a likable guy. But I mean, really old school guy, smoking in the dugout in between innings. I mean,
He wasn't Bobby Valentine, put on a
yeah.
disguise.
That's actually fantastic, though.
Yeah.
I'll throw out a name there because you said Buck Showalter.
sure.
Went to a lot of different teams and
I
really
know.
bought.
Poor, heartbreaking.
Always brought up those
Yeah.
systems. The Orioles, the Rangers, even the Yankees.
The
man.
Yankees
forget
were
about-
Showalter.
well,
The Yankees
Don't
were
forget about the Yankees
Showalter.
and the Diamondbacks
Yeah,
also.
that's right, the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
They got rid of him because he wears out because he's so old school. He wears out his welcome quickly,
Yeah.
kind of like a Larry Brown,
Yeah.
who we didn't mention. Larry Brown, another fantastic coach.
Sure.
Goes in there, works everyone really hard, kind of wears out his welcome quickly,
He's a Tom
but gets
Coughlin.
results. Hey, Coughlin's a great coach.
No,
But gets
you're right.
results. You know, Larry Brown got his title with the Pistons,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I think he's a fantastic coach. Different areas. Showalter's like that too.
Yeah.
Yankees, Rangers, Diamondbacks, Orioles.
It's a shame.
Always success where he goes.
I actually hope that the Orioles let him see this out because they're going to go through a rebuild, obviously.
I think-
so. But I
might
want
not
to
wanna
see him
see it
stay
out.
there.
He's gonna get the axe.
He might not want to see it out too.
gonna
Yeah. Oh no. And by the way, it's getting closer and closer. You start to hear the buzzing of that.
We mentioned Torrey before, and Torrey walked into an unbelievable situation,
did, because
which
Showalter
was
exists.
Yeah,
Showalter,
which is Showalter's
you know,
build, yeah.
and Gene Michael.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's
kind of
what we
like
talk
what the
about
Yankees are
personality.
doing these days, letting the farm
Yeah.
system build. And Steinbrenner kind of took a seat back.
No, he got banned from baseball for 2 years.
Yeah. Well, he had to take a seat back then. But no, I digress. I don't want to go too off talking about too
know.
much Yankees.
Yep.
But yeah.
Personalities. Torrey came in and was the right personality for the team. They didn't
Oh,
feel that
beautiful
Showalter was.
fit
And I
there,
think
yeah.
it's actually similar to Aaron Boone.
Very New York.
Aaron
Torrey.
Boone coming in, maybe a little more lax, a little more working with the personalities as opposed to a Girardi.
Right.
And maybe it's going to fit more because the team, you don't need to meddle with that team. But like you said, we're getting a little more.
We'll see what that happens. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Absolutely. Well, with that, we're going to close out another chapter of Brooklyn Verse. For the boys, I say goodnight.
And good luck.
And goodbye.
Go Bridgeside.
I said good day.
Truman Show. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
That was good, yeah. That was tight, too.
We don't fool around.